What has set Vocera apart in the testing space?
We came to this idea from a personal pain point. We are in touch with 11 Labs for their conversational AI platform endpoint as well. So we'll launch the chat API for that as well.
Hi everyone, this is Alejo coming to you from Bogota, Colombia, and I'm super excited to share with you the interview that I did with the CEO of Vocera. There were a ton of insights during our conversation, including where voice agents will end up by the end of 2025 and how you can set up yourself to own a piece of that market. You may have heard about Vocera before. They have been longtime partners of ours. So Amplify Voice and Vocera partnered up to give each of you a discount code of 20% for the first 2 months. So you can get started with building agents that are actually ready for production. I hope you take as many lessons from this interview as I did.
Sidhant, thank you for being here. Very excited to talk. There's a lot that you guys have been working on, but a lot of people haven't really heard about testing platforms. We've been diving into it at Amplify Voice for several months now because we understand that the importance of testing for voice agents, and when we're going to put them in the world, they better be tested. So thank you for what you guys have created. Super excited to have you here. The first question that I have for you is, give me the elevator pitch about Vocera. What is the core problem that you guys solve?
Thanks a lot, first of all, Alejo, for inviting me. And really excited to work with Amplify Voice. Let me introduce about Vocera. So Vocera is a voice agent testing and observability platform. We help voice AI companies ship voice agents in minutes and hours instead of days and weeks. We do both pre-production testing as well as post-production observability to make sure that you are shipping reliable agents.
So you were initially started in YCombinator, super exciting. How has the transition been from when you started in the biggest startup accelerator in the world to where you are now? What was that journey like?
No, it's been a roller coaster. When we started, I remember the first customers, we were going to each voice AI companies. We hadn't had the product built, got few customers through IC, and then the voice AI actually grew like crazy. Now we have 50 plus customers across healthcare, insurance, sales, customer support in all the domains. Yeah, it's been a wild ride the last 4 months.
Yeah, I bet. So what inspired you to choose this domain to create a specialized simulation platform for getting voice agents ready for production?
Yeah, it's an interesting story actually. So me and my co-founders, we were actually building a vertical SaaS solution in the legal space where voice AI was part of the process. And while my co-founder built his agent, he had to test it out manually for all the edge cases, for the workflows. And the first call went live, it was bad. The second call after testing went live, it was bad. And then he figured out, okay, testing needs to be solved. The other interesting anecdote is he is an AI systems researcher. He did his research on testing at ETH Zurich. So it was like a perfect fit. And we knew voice AI is going to grow crazy. We feel the future is, you will talk to the phone and get your things done. And we want to be the enablers for that process.
That's awesome. I'd love to kind of learn more about you yourself as a person, what your journey has been, and if you can tell me a little bit about your founders as well, that'd be great.
So I did my schooling in India, graduated from IIT Bombay, all three of us. IIT Bombay is the best engineering college in India. After that, always had an entrepreneurial bug, but post-college did a brief stunt at a early stage startup. It was into a tech space where it was solving Gen AI for competitive exams. So while we were building it, got approached by my co-founders. Both of them are from research and tech backgrounds from IIT Bombay. And we just jammed on these ideas and figured out, okay, voice AI testing is the way to go.
It's funny in choosing what you want to do in this space because it's moving so fast. So we have entertained the ideas of what if we had a platform, and what would that platform be for testing, for creating new agents? Is it for white labeling? So testing specifically, you shared a bit about that initial unlock insight of we're having trouble with launching our own agents in production. What if we help others with that challenge too that we're all facing, including us, right? So you mentioned the minutes or hours. Tell me a little bit about what is the difference? What really is the difference with your platform? So what is it exactly that helps speed up that development cycle, and what's the issue with traditional testing?
See, the issue with manual testing in the conversational sense is it's pretty different from standard, matching of LLM input and output. Conversations have so many workflows, edge cases for each of these workflows. So it will take you, days and weeks to test for all the edge cases. Even if you do that, let's say you spend this one-time effort, but whenever you need to do a prompt change, or your customer requirement changes and you have fixed that, right? You have to test for all these workflows again because of that fix, something else can break. So we were pretty convinced that there should be a platform for solving the testing and observability needs. We never had any doubts about it.
So on that note, we've seen some other testing platforms come up. What has set you guys apart? What has set Vocera apart in the testing space? Because obviously, ideas are great, and we're in a world nowadays where everybody's having ideas, everybody's having good ideas, but the execution is really the difference maker. What has set you guys apart when it comes to executing?
Yeah, see, so I'll go to the what differentiates us from the product standpoint, but the more important point is we came to this idea from a personal pain point. Even to this point, my team takes one agent to build every month while we are solving the testing requirements, because we want to make sure that whether we are creating that use case for our agent development as well. So we don't do it for commercial sense. We just do it to make sure that what's the time that we are reducing for testing. Now, coming back to what we have done on the product side, we have automated the scenario creation. We have automated metric generation. Our latest launch actually helps you find issues, categorize them without even defining that. So in a lot of other testing platforms, you have to define your metrics and then see whether that metric is correct or not correct, right? In our case, without even defining, you can get those issues. Because what we figured out, people don't know what can go wrong in production, right? So defining metrics is a good to have, but it does not give you that reassurance to sleep with your agent, right? That your agent can do some blunders, and you need to capture them. That's a differentiating factor on our side.
That has definitely been something that has eaten at my sleep, wondering if this latest launch is going as well as I think it's going, because I tested it, right? So I think that it's great, that it's perfect. But what if the latest change I did to the prompt actually broke something else? And that's something we talk about in our community all the time. When people, I think we've created a really welcoming space in our school community, that people come through our YouTube channel and they bring their prompts and they're like, hey, I know it's bad, but I don't know where. Can you help me? So we have adopted the philosophy of test-driven development. And actually in our latest launch, and this is kind of like a testimonial from us, last Friday, we built and launched an agent in 4 hours, from an onboarding call with the client to launch in the span of 4 hours of work, which was like incredible to me. And seeing the greens in the platform was very encouraging that, hey, I'm doing something right. I'm progressing in the right direction, right? So when it comes to iterating, there's a lot of time saving that we've experienced. And honestly, I've tested the other platforms. Your guys' is like user experience, user friendliness. There's clear steps from step 1 since signing up to step 2 to step 3. And then in step 4, you're already testing your agent. And that's something that took like days to set up in other platforms. So I commend you all for your user experience. I'm very adamant on that, and I get messages all the time, hey, can you test my platform, can you give me some feedback? And so thank you for making our lives easier. So
no, thanks Alejo.
Yeah, of course, man, of course. What is other user feedback that you've received? What is one thing that you'd say is the biggest room for improvement that you've heard from your users? And what is the thing that has been the say that your users absolutely love about Vocera?
Yeah. So the thing that the users love a lot about Vocera is to get the actionable insights, right? In a sense that we give you the feedback, we give you the timestamps, we need to exactly this thing broke, right? And there are a lot of ways users fix that. We have a healthcare client just yesterday. He had his agent used to pause in specific areas, right? And that was causing the drop-offs. figured out, okay, in this particular case itself, the pausing issue is happening, quickly fixed it. Similarly, we have a case where a client used to, when they ask for refund, they just used to give the refund instead of directing it to the human agent. That was creating these revenue loss. And while they got this issue, they fixed it, and the revenues have increased. So these are pretty actionable insights which improve the direct ROI for the customer. The area of improvement, what we have seen from the customer side is, we give the issues, directed issues. They also want us to give suggestive prompt improvements. That is one area where we have been working on. We have a lot of things built in, but we want to launch it in a way that actually adds value and not create a lot of friction or confusion to the customer. The way we did for our testing side, right? Where, unlike other platforms, just by a click of a button, you are getting accurate metrics, accurate scenarios, and accurate results.
Yeah. Having guidance on this is what the test says, actionable insight, but now how do I go about changing the prompt makes me think of where we're going to be by the end of 2025 in these, essentially what we could classify as self-learning systems or a feedback loop system. Super excited to see the next iteration of the prompt advice.
Yeah, so currently it's interesting you mentioned about continuous improvement, and actually that is where we are working towards, where you monitor your calls, see the most pressing issues, get alerts for that, and when you fix it, then the same testing platform you can, check it out and make sure that the loop is there, right? And that is where we want to solve this problem. Instead of directly giving any recommendations, we have tested it out and it doesn't work. We have to continuously monitor it and based on that simulate it before going.
I appreciate that. Test first. Be careful with the feedback loop. We might be getting the feedback loop in the wrong direction. We've seen it. Yeah.
Even if not for that particular case, something else might go wrong. So your feedbacks is very contextual on which model is there, what is your tech stack. So get these issues, use that, but then first test it out before just going.
Definitely. So let's talk about that insights concept a little bit. It can be very abstract for people, especially starting out, but even people that have been building and launching in production. What really is an insight from data? I usually make the analogy of I think about it as an ocean of data. And what you can see is the surface. There's so much data. You did 1,000 calls for a campaign, and how do you go through all that data when in reality the insights are under the surface? So bringing those insights up so we can see them is so hard. So you've translated raw metrics to insights. What does it look like applied when you do have, say, GPT-4o versus GPT-4o Mini versus Claude as a model? How are those insights, say, contextual to the model or the specific use case? Is it fully directed by the prompt? Is there some extra guidance that you give for the use case?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the issues can be at the prompt level, can be at the model level, right? And that's why a lot of customers, what they do is, for any metric, be it workflow metric or conversational metrics, they do these A/B test of the models. So you get to know, okay, which model is performing, how much better in that particular metric. And that is an insight, right? Okay, for my use case, this model is better. For example, the latest Google launch, it's performing better in a lot of workflow metrics, right? A lot of customers come to us and say, can I move to 4o Mini and save cost instead of 4o, right? Now, the latency can be good, it's cheaper, but is it following the workflows? Is it creating those weird issues, right? So that's where the model comparison comes from. So while there are surface level insights which you directly get, but there are deeper insights that you can get from very qualitative metrics. I'll give you an example, right? Let's say you get a metric about how many times user is interrupting AI. Obviously, you get insights about AI interrupting users, but sometimes people ask, why do you show that the user is interrupting AI so many times? Now, if you go on a beneath level, you will find that if your agent is giving long sentences, right, that's when the user interjects. So it's not the feedback on the user, it's actually the feedback for your AI agent, even if the user is interrupting AI. So we capture those timestamps, and if it's very high, then it's actually a feedback for your, prompt. You have to make sure that when your sentences are too long, to trim it. or if if there's some model changes that have happened. So that's a deeper level insights that you can get from
Yeah.
basic metric.
Interesting. So something that I see is when people are building the prompts and they want to change the behavior, they don't usually simplify, they add. So they start adding more sentences, more instructions. And when you don't have the systematic testing or the automated testing, then what you end up is a bloated prompt that now is not even following instruction 1, but about instruction 6. So is there any future support coming from Vocera on making A/B testing easier? Say I want to launch this new version of the agent in production, but I want to compare it against my current one. Well, is there something in the roadmap around those lines?
Yeah, that's a good question. See, currently we facilitate that in a different manner, where you can create 2 different agent and see the performance for each metric. And whenever you update a prompt, you can rerun a scenario. But we are creating a more robust version of prompt versioning. So you can have different versions of the prompt, which you can classify by model, by the prompt version number, and see how the results comes between A and between B. So that is in our product roadmap to simplify it. But you can still do it. You can still do it in our platform by creating duplicate agents.
Yeah, that's how we've been doing it. It's honestly been pretty smooth that way. You recently added the chat feature. So now connecting your VAPI agent or just pasting your prompt into the Vocera platform, you can do chat instead of full voice conversations. That's been useful for us to, for example, test functions. It's been good without having to do 10 different calls, which makes me think of the partnerships that you guys have struck so far. Tell me a little bit about those partnerships and any new partnerships coming around soon.
Yeah, so see, this has been one of the major unlockers of YC. Most of our partners, companies we collaborated, Daily, Vapi, Retail, all these are YC companies. It becomes easier to get access. We are in touch with 11 Labs for their conversational AI platform endpoint as well. So we'll launch the chat API for that as well. So we are doubling on chat for 2 reasons. Specifically, it is important to test the workflow metrics faster. In voice, you have to wait for all the 10 calls to end. Like we do parallel calls, but you still have to wait a couple of minutes, right? And secondly, it's a lot cheaper, right? So for the basic testing, workflow testing, you can just use chat. So what we see is that if your agent is, let's say at 10%, from 10% to 70%, you use our chat testing platform. From 70-80% to 95-99%, use the voice part. We are doubling on chat, and we are doubling on different platform providers who are giving this, infrastructure for building agents.
Yeah, awesome. That's actually the unlock that we had to be able to launch in production within 4 hours. The how fast the development cycle became with the chat feature. So that was a godsend that it just like showed up in the platform one day. It's like, oh, I can use chat now. This is so much faster. You guys have been building so fast. It's unparalleled. It's been really, really cool to see. I know it sounds like I'm just throwing flowers because we're in a podcast, but like Paige knows, like it's been such a gratifying experience to, for example, get confirmation on how good my prompts are. How good they actually are, where they're faulty, and this prompt versioning, which is 2025, and there's not very good prompt versioning out there, which is crazy to me. It's yeah. But thank you for working on that. That's going to be very useful. So when it comes to continuous monitoring, reliability, so thank you for helping me now launch in production. Now, what happens if something breaks? How do I know that it's doing well? What do I tell the client about how it's going? What can Vocera help me to translate to the client, or maybe some visuals that will also give them some certainty of this? This could use some work. We're working on it, or this is working perfectly as expected. Let's keep going.
Yeah, so we are actually launching the Slack alerts. Actually, it's just live, should have been live by now. So for all the critical metrics, you can get a Slack alert. You quickly address that, fix that, and address to the client. You touched an interesting note about ensuring your customers, right? Our customers are satisfied, and that's why we have the reports feature. So a lot of customers, what they use is, they use it to in their sales cycle and go to their customers and show them it's tested against 100 scenarios adversarial case, which gives their customers a assurance that their agent is rigorously tested. That has been a good value unlocker. But yeah, coming back to observability, we already have an embeddable UI, so you can use it in your platform, show your customers all the analytics, all the findings, all the scores, so your customers also can monitor what is happening with their agent.
Awesome. Yeah, the embeddable UI, just saw that new feature. That was very
Yeah.
very exciting, very encouraging. That's been a pain point that I keep hearing over and over again in the voice AI communities in general. It's like, well, I need a dashboard. I need something to show. I can't just give a phone number. And it's true. It's not very professional to just give a phone number and hey, it works. Trust me. That doesn't really cut it with clients.
Yeah, and it should not, right? They are giving their customer support, their sales, like critical function to you. So they have the right to know, what is happening, how much ROI is being generated, what all things went wrong. I think it's a must-have.
Yeah. So Sidhant, you as CEO of Vocera, as a CEO building in the voice AI space, what's a key lesson you've learned about building a good company?
Yeah.
So you, Sidhant, personally, as a co-founder of a company in the voice AI space, a rapidly evolving industry, what's one key lesson that you've learned that you can give for other co-founders to build better?
So the lesson that we learned pretty early is, voice AI or AI in general, the expectations will be on the outcome side. The expectations will not be, I ran 100 calls for you or I monitored all your calls. What is the actual output that you can generate for the customer, right? As the examples I gave you, did your testing help them save revenue? Did their testing help them reduce costs, right? Save their time. That's for example, in our case, that's the biggest value unlocker. So that has been the biggest learning. It's not just about giving, you will be measured on outcomes. You will not be measured on the things that you have done. We always keep that in mind. With this feature, what is the outcome that we are generating for our customer?
That has been a lesson for us as well. Definitely. Hard at first. One of the things we recommend is make sure that you're very clear with your clients what their expectations should be. What are the issues with where we're at with the technology? Educate them. They will appreciate it. And in return, what you will get is a client that when something goes wrong, is like, oh, interesting. So tell me more about what went wrong, as opposed to why did something go wrong? And that is a very important for creating good relationships with clients. And thank you for granting us that as well, a dedicated Slack channel to be able to bring things up. That's been very awesome experience with you guys.
Thanks a lot. Well, that's required in this stage. We have, as I said, 50 plus customers. We do weekly syncs with all those 50. And that is important because, we don't want the customer's experience to go bad. And sometimes in early stages, when you are shipping on a daily basis, some things can change and that should not deter the experience. And the customers also have been patient with us with a fast release and have been supportive with feedback. And these feedback actually helped us come where we have come. So yeah, the early partners are pretty important.
Yeah, awesome. So you guys are early. You have a whole year ahead of you to improve the platform, really launch. Super excited to see that. For the industry, for the technology, where do you see it going through 2025 into the end of 2025? What types of applications, or where are we going to see voice agents that we might have not thought of? What comes to mind in where the industry and the use cases are going?
Right. See, on the technology side, we'll see native multimodal models being a lot better. Currently, the multimodal models are not in the production use case, right? It's still STT, LLM, TTS. But I think in this year, most of these things will be shifted to native voice-to-voice models, and that is bound to happen. On the product standpoint, currently we see a lot of agents being used in after hours, additional support, ad hoc support. We are expecting that by the end of the year, they'll blown away entire functions. So voice AI will actually be used extensively during the critical functions as well. Obviously with the oversight of humans, but it will not just be the added hand. It will actually take and execute functions for you.
Exciting news from OpenAI. ChatGPT now can run agentically, so essentially autonomously complete tasks, which is very, very exciting to hear. And you guys kind of inspired us to build these workflows where we can leverage Vocera with your SDK, with your API. And today, this morning, we finished one of the principal components, which is being able to, from our prompt, create metrics, create an evaluator, and run the test calls all from my cursor, which I want to thank you for, because not only are you building the user interface to be very user-friendly, but you're giving developers as well the oh wait, I could build this with it, and I could use it this way, and that I think is super powerful. Yeah, most companies usually focus on one.
Yeah, when you are catering to developers don't like to move away from their cursor, right? They want everything to be executed through their GitHub Actions, through their coding platform. So that was bound, like it was a must do, right? Nobody likes to use, one platform for this thing, other platform. While our infrastructure on the UI side is there for anyone who wants a very intuitive flow, for a non-coder as well. For the developers, I think that's the best way to go about it.
Okay, Sidhant, final couple questions. I want to give you some space to share a message where you see the industry right now. Where do you hope it goes? But what is something that you want to communicate?
We are pretty excited about the voice AI space in general. We are seeing our customers growing from their initial state to 4x now in the last 3-4 months. And the exciting part about being in this space for us is, as our customers grow, we grow with them. So the incentives are properly aligned. So we are, as I said, we are seeing voice AI disrupting every sector and every function. Our customers are going pretty fast. So we just want to be that enabler and grow with that.
Yeah, it's been that's been the experience for us, making our development cycle that much faster. We actually launched real-time API in production, and yeah, it's not ready as it's the core technology itself, but what it was able to do. We got all greens on our tests, where the normal agents couldn't really nail the test. Real-time API did. So it's fascinating. Like, you guys are building with the speech-to-text reasoning, text-to-speech in mind, but now it's allowing us to test the newer technologies as they're getting ready for production. So that was kind of an insight that we had, an experience that we had that was very surprising and gratifying.
Thanks a lot. And yeah, multimodal models are bound to improve. I think the STT, LLM, TTS will go away.
Yeah, it kind of has to eventually, huh? Yeah. We use the tools we have in the moment that we have them, Yeah. Now that it comes to mind, there is one thing that I'd like to say, because this is truly how I feel. Thank you, Sidhant, for being such great partners to us, for hearing our feedback and acting on it so fast. I really, really appreciate it to feel heard as a builder, which is something that sometimes doesn't happen. We've gone used to the mass SaaS companies where your feedback is just a ticket in some system, and maybe in a few months someone will read it. So thank you for being so attentive and helping us build.
No, thanks a lot, Alejo.
Sidhant, thank you so very much. This is a very nurturing conversation, and I'm sure that we'll get to talk again later in the year as your company launches and as the platform keeps evolving. There's more and more to talk about it. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks a lot, Alejo. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Wow, that interview was packed with value. I hope that you got as much from it as I did. And we're gonna have an AMA Ask Me Anything with Sidhant next week in our school community that you can also find in the link below. And remember that jumping in and trying Vocera for yourself is easier than ever, especially with a 20% discount code. Now that testing is solved and guaranteeing a high quality voice agent isn't a problem anymore, what will you build? How big will you dream? I'd love to hear your comments below. Thank you all, and remember, never stop prompting.